Are you just creating an aroma? Or do you want to make steak? Are you spending your time with social media and getting no sizzle? You need to blog for satiation, my friends. And I know somebody who knows something about blogging for satiation. His name is Mr. Hal Werner. Hal, good evening.
What's happening?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, pretty good. Just got done eating some steak myself.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you were once blogging, were you not?
It's true.
And now you've kind of taken a vacation from blogging, but I brought you back.
You did. You brought me back. I was gone, and now I'm found.
Nice, nice. So tell us what happened, because I know your website kind of went through a transition, and you kind of bulked up on your social media skills.
Yeah. Well, there was a while where I was blogging mostly because I had thoughts about the industry and my craft that I just wanted to get out there. I wasn't spending a lot of time actively promoting it, but I just wanted them to be there in case anybody might stumble upon them.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be the only one with these thoughts. And I did it for a long time. I had a blogger.com blog with probably over 100 posts, and it had even managed to start stacking up to some traffic. Well, I decided that I was tired of sending all that traffic to Blogger, but at the same time, I started getting more involved in social media. And let's be honest, social media is kind of do as much or as little as you want. So it was really easy for me to say, take 5 minutes on a lunch break and do some social media activity.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a lot harder to put together a good blog post. And I say good because there's important distinction between just any blog post and a good blog post. There's a lot of crap content.
Right. And now you've got like Facebook and Twitter, and you can just knock out some short thoughts, with just regular social media now. You don't need a full blog to kind of do that.
Sure, exactly. The social media, like you said, it's a lot easier to get out sort of short, concise thoughts and get really immediate feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started taking to that, and as my time began to crunch even more, I dropped the blogging altogether because let's face it, it's a big time commitment. I don't think a lot of people realize how much it can really take to put together something good, finding images to make sure it's engaging and sizing and
Mm-hmm.
Putting it out so it's not just a stream of consciousness. There's a lot that goes into it.
Right. And especially now with this whole Google Panda thing, where you need a lot of content. I mean, when was the last time you searched something on Google and you got to like a blog post or a web page where there was just like a paragraph on there? It like just doesn't happen anymore.
Right. Yeah. I was reading the other day, much to even my own chagrin, that a lot of the really high performing posts and pages are really long content wise when it comes to what Google ranks highly.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a lot of stuff doesn't even get looked at if it's under 1,000 words. And a lot of really high performing stuff is 2,000-3,000 words, which by kind of wrecks the whole idea that the page fold is the ultimate guide to everything.
Mm-hmm.
If ranking high in Google is going to require thousands of words on your page.
Right.
And that's not universal, but that's just sort of a general thing that I read from one of the more prominent sort of blogging and SEO sources recently. So that's a lot of commitment, and I didn't have that much time to commit for a fair amount of time, so I kind of dropped it entirely. And like you said, I decided to switch to a new website. I wanted to do a WordPress-based website so I could update it regularly. My previous iteration was just simple HTML. It didn't have any sort of a blog function built into it. And I wanted to go ahead and move on to like a WordPress thing so I could blog easily on my own website and not be sending that traffic somewhere else.
Right. And are you familiar with Seth Godin?
Yes.
Okay. And you know his blog?
Mm-hmm.
And his blog he basically blogs every day, and most of his blog posts are just a paragraph,
right?
Which used to be okay.
Yeah.
And Seth Godin has right now he's probably got about 1 million million visitors to his blog, something like some crazy amount.
Sure.
So he can still do that and get away with it.
Yeah.
But if he were doing that today, if he started his blog today, it wouldn't work.
Well, right. He can do that because he's a known name outside of blogging. Blogging doesn't make him famous. He's famous, and therefore his blog gets traffic.
Right.
So that's a very different paradigm. If you're not famous, your content is going to have to be a lot better to get the same kind of attention that someone with that kind of personal cachet already has. Just by being themselves.
Right. Yeah, and I think blogging is changing too, because now you've got the stock photography just doesn't really work anymore,
right?
Because everyone's seen the same stock photos, and they just get beaten up. And but now I feel like we've got a lot more tools.
We do.
Like we've got DSLR cameras that can just take amazing photos that are fairly reasonably priced.
Yeah,
we've got affordable microphones. We can do podcasting. We've got WordPress, which is really great. It has a lot of editing tools and blogging specific tools. Like they say, I mean, we've got the factory basically in our hands. With laptops and some of these tools that don't take up a whole lot of space.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no doubt. The tools have all become so much more accessible. That really, your choice is whether or not you want to do it and how involved you want to be. They're solutions that you have to have almost no technical knowledge to put together.
Right. And the thing that I love about blogging though is talk about sort of return on your time investment.
Yeah.
Right. Because blogging takes a lot of time. Right.
Right.
The thing I really love about it is that the blog is open 24/7.
Yes.
The tweets last 20 minutes is what industry analysts say, is that it's live for about 20 minutes and then the stream goes and poof,
right.
You're gone. And that's why I find Twitter kind of hard, because I just can't really commit that kind of time to Twitter, because it's you tweet something and then it's gone, and it's just like, oh geez, I got to tweet again because no one will see my tweet because it's been past 20 minutes.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think is sort of the time paradox, if you will, about social media versus blogging. The paradox that I was in, I thought, if I'm going to spend my time, then I'm going to spend a lot less time and get this output. But the truth of the matter is the outputs aren't equivalent. Like you said, the blog's open 24 hours a day. The search engines can find it. People can find it. And over time, that blog can build your search ranking. It can build, a much more loyal audience. The kind that's going to subscribe with an RSS feed is a lot more valuable than the kind that's just going to, follow back your Twitter account, for example. And so I think when you start realizing how much more output you get, that time investment begins to swing more in the favor of blogging. Because you put that post out there, it's out there today, tomorrow, next year, 10 years from now.
Yep.
And I've read things about bloggers who were able to even take blog posts they had done previously and update them in relevant ways and get a whole new flood of traffic coming through.
Oh yeah, I do that all the time for my blog posts, because they get old. I mean, you write about something that Facebook did 2 or 3 years ago, and things have changed a lot. And what I find, like with a lot of my blog posts, is that the links broke. Right. I would link to a page on Facebook, and the page moved, and I didn't know the page moved until I checked the links on my blog post.
Right.
But that stuff like that really affects your rankings, because if Google sees that you're pointing to a link that's dead, that's not a good user experience.
And another comment on search, and search has gotten arguably pretty funny these days, because Google's done so much that at this point the rule is almost just do a good job and don't try to game the system. Oh,
definitely. I mean, Google, exactly. That's why this whole, I mean, I read the search engine optimization publications and stuff, and I'm just like, what's the point now? Like it doesn't matter. because I mean Google's so good at spotting, you know, fake content and all the games and stuff. And I know, like, when you write good stuff, good content, it works.
Yeah, and I mean,
there is no secret recipe. It's just you got to put in the time and the research, and it works.
Right, and there's some basic things you can do, but essentially, what the best SEO tips now mostly equate to are use best practices and don't be a douchebag.
Yeah, don't be a douchebag. That's it. So, Hal, you also mentioned to me about how you share your blog posts to social media.
Yeah, so, you know, blogs and their search value are a great thing, but you know, that's just kind of like putting a steak out there and hoping somebody smells it passing by, right?
Right.
Using social media is kind of like putting up big fans to waft the scent in the right direction, and to pull people in that might not have otherwise heard about it.
Right.
And so one of the things that I did, you know, when I published more recent blog articles, that I made sure were interesting and quality enough that I would want to read them. You know, I got a boost in traffic, but one of the things that really helped was getting them out on social. One of the aspects of that, of course, was just posting them out with interesting enough social posts, not just the title of the article necessarily, but something thought-provoking, or, you know, something that makes you ask a question or want to have a question answered. Excuse me.
So you jazzed up the tweet, basically.
Yeah. You don't want to be one of those people who's just doing like a ho-hum, like 10 ways to raise your search value, and just, you know, use that title on your Twitter feed, because people are going to see right through that. That's boring. People want something more than that. That feels automatic to them. They want something of substance. And so you have to put a little more work into it, but it can pay off. And one of the other things I did was, you know, it's not just Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus. Because the stuff that I'm blogging about is professionally relevant, I also posted these things to a couple of the groups that I'm involved in on LinkedIn. And the important part about that, right, is also not just blatant self-promotion. These are groups that I've already been active in and posted about other things that were not my blog. I've gone in there.
You earned the right to post in there.
Exactly. I earned the right to post by being involved, by posting things that weren't self-promotional, by commenting and sharing other people's posts, and finally by writing something that people actually cared to read about. And let me tell you what, the difference between a post that someone is obviously just asking you to read their post about their latest awesome project and how awesome it was and how awesome they are, and a post like one of my recent ones about how copywriters can end the war with legal. That's something that a lot of people genuinely care about and may not know quite how to do. That's something that provided real value for people. And there's a big difference you can see it immediately just by looking at the group, how much commenting and how much sharing and how much engagement happens with those posts.
Yep. Well, that's the whole thing. It's got to be relevant and valuable content. And I see that right away in my blog posts and because the analytics tell you. I mean, they tell you what's popular and what's not. They tell you what people want to read and what they don't.
Right.
And Google figures it out because it's just the way traffic flows.
Right.
And so what I've heard before, and it's been great advice, is that you need to sort of amplify your winners. So you go over the top with the things that work. So like my best blog article, or my most popular one, was one on separating Facebook profiles, you know, business and professional.
Sure.
Or business and personal. And what I did is I just kept adding to it.
Right.
You know, so it was a great post to begin with, and I was like, well, you know what, let me put some extra meat on this steak. You know, and sure enough, like when I did that, it's, you know, it regained a lot of the traffic that kind of withered a bit, you know, because it was, you know, 2 or 3 years old at that point. And once I put that back on, like all the traffic came back, and it just did even better.
And yeah, you know, that's a great thing about updating your posts. If you've got something good to update them with, is you take a post that may have essentially died or withered in the view of search engines, and you've made it brand new again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you can even take off the dates on the blog post too. WordPress kind of lets you, a lot of the themes let you customize that, where you can take the date off or put it at the bottom, so like people really won't notice it, because really the date is pretty irrelevant. And you
Oftentimes,
and you don't want to scare people off thinking, well, geez, this is 2 or 3 years old,
right.
They may think it's not relevant anymore. But if you've updated the post, then it is still relevant, and you don't want to send people off when really the post is still fresh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the return on investment for blogging for you, Hal? What do you think?
Well, it's a little early to say in my new blogging efforts. I've only done a couple of posts since I've been back at it. But I can say that just for those couple of posts, I've seen an uptick in traffic for my site. And especially when I was using social to share them, using them as a supplement instead of a replacement.
Right.
That was even a bigger multiplier on traffic to my site. So, I think if I continue really being disciplined about putting together good posts and interesting posts, then I can start gaining momentum over time and maybe even start building an audience.
Right. And then with the tweets, I guess the kind of good thing about social media is you can just kind of rewrite the headline and schedule it, for different times of the week.
Yeah, something like Twitter can actually be a great tool for testing out headlines and optimizing, because you think about your blog post, you've got one headline, but you can put out the tweet, the same link under a whole bunch of different tweets,
headlines, different hashtags.
Exactly. And you can find out just from Twitter, which title people are most interested in.
Yeah, if you go to search.twitter.com, you can find all that.
Yep.
Yeah, search.twitter.com. That's the one Gary Vaynerchuk is always pimping out. And it is a really great tool because you just type in any kind of topic. Which brings me to another great tool, by the way. Have you heard of Siftist?
I have.
Siftist.com.
That's SIFTIST.com.
That's it.
Do not try to say it 3 times fast. You will say bad words. I tried it.
Yep. But that's another great tool for sort of finding people in the Twitter space to follow. It kind of sifts people sort of by normal Twitter behaviors. Is the way that it works. So people, it'll feed, it'll sift out people that are doing like automatic tweets, people that are doing like these automatic favorites, things like that. And I found it to be a really great tool. And I'm not only a user, I'm also the creator, Hal.
You don't say.
Yep. And I know you've given some great input on Siftist that we've implemented, and it's now it's in beta, but it's live at siftist.com. I invite people to check it out.
It does actually have, a couple of cool features. I know a lot of people have gone through the clout phase and all that, but there's some neat aspects, like some really easy, quick visual ways to help you judge whether or not people are positive people to try and follow or interact with for things, and some ways of categorizing people about how active they are and stuff that I haven't seen on other similar tools.
Exactly, and that's my favorite feature. I think is how active it tells you how active people are on Twitter, because that's the thing that annoys me most about Twitter is that these people just never stop tweeting. And so I came up with an algorithm that kind of scored people based on how chatty they are.
Yeah.
But the way this ties into blogging is that you can, type in a topic and you can see sort of like who the players are in the space, and you can reach out to real people, people who really aren't abusing the Twitter system. And it does score people, but really the score isn't so much important because things are colored, green, yellow, red. And basically the green and yellow people you kind of want to investigate and see how they are. But
they're the ones you want to aim for, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to give them some consideration. Obviously, there's some people. I mean, we're still working on the algorithm. To give people a better score or a more accurate score. But right now, fundamentally the way that it works is, it checks out these people have too many. Are they following too many people? Do they have too many followers? The things look kind of weird. Is the way that it is. And right now, I find it to be pretty accurate, with the exception of you and me, Hal. That scored kind of not so great on it. For different reasons, which I won't go into, but
it's because we're shady.
We have things that we're not like normal Twitter users, and that's the way that it works. Is it kind of sifts out people for being sort of normal Twitter users, and things like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you plug in like a topic in there, you'll see some people that you can follow, and then if you reach out to these people that you find through Siftis, they're probably going to respond to you, because they have good Twitter habits, and I think that'll help a lot of people who are looking to reach out to people, in the blogosphere and make connections to things that they're blogging about. So that's my Siftis plug, and I'm standing by it. So, blogging can be a chore sometimes. I know this, but something that eases the pain is a little notes app on your phone. When you get ideas as they happen, just write them on the notes app. And that way, when you're ready to blog, you've got the time for it. You've got all your ideas right there.
Because let's face it, looking at a blank page can be an intimidating thing, and it's an easy way to stop blogging quick because you don't feel like you've got any ideas to fill up all that white space.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just take notes when you're inspired, but can't get down to writing them out all the way, then you always have something to come back to in a starting place. Mm-hmm. You'll be a lot more likely to keep up that blogging habit.
Right. It's like having your little spices as you're preparing your steak.
Yep.
Just little spices. Give me some peppers.
Got to keep it interesting.
Give me some salt. Give me some sea salt for that steak.
Watch out, he's getting crazy, folks.
Oh man, you're getting me hungry. All right. Well, I think that's it. Hal, how can people reach you?
People can find me at halwerner.com. That's HALWERNER.com. It's also the place you're going to find my blog. And if you're into the social medias that we've been talking about, I'm on Twitter at Hal Werner.
Great. And after you visit Hal, you can come to my blog and my website, kenmariko.com, or you can shout out to me on Twitter at Ken Mariko. Thanks for listening.